Okay, wait, say stop.
People, it's 5:30 and I'm fixing to start the Mayor and Aldermen Workshop. It's September 27th, 2018, and it is after 5:30. This is the workshop for the October 2nd, 2018 regular meeting. The prayer is by Alderman Jones, and the Pledge of Allegiance is with Alderman Brown. Everybody needs to look over the minutes for September the 4th, 2018 regular meeting and September the 20th, 2018 special meeting. We have two presentations, one tonight, one at the meeting. One of the presentations is I-24 Smart Corridor Project, TDOT workshop only. Anybody here? Kyle,
Yes,
you got anybody here?
Someone from TDOT is here, so if they would like to get up and.
Okay. If you want to get up and speak now, go ahead and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate the time. My name is Matt Godey. I work with HDR. We are under contract through TDOT to go do the design for the I-24 Smart Corridor. Let's see. Just wave over there, so just kind of like that'll work? All right, there we go. Just to kind of take you through, we just want to give you guys an overview of what the project's going to entail. Also try to maybe talk about how it's specifically going to impact not only the city, but as far as the motorists that use the corridor on a daily basis. Go through some of the things that you'll be seeing coming out. There is an upcoming construction project related to this. I'll get into the phasing of it, discuss some of the stuff that's coming out in future, and definitely be welcome any questions that I can answer for you. All right, going through the project overview. The map that you see on the right-hand side, that gives you an idea of what we're looking at as far as the project area. It encompasses Nashville, Laverne, Smyrna, and Murfreesboro. It runs along I-24, but it also encompasses State Route 1, which is the parallel route, and then all the roadways that are basically, I call them the crossing connectors, all the ones that basically hit I-24 at the interchange and take you over to State Route 1. The idea behind this is to gain better travel time reliability. Once all three phases have been enacted, they're on the ground, everything's installed, we've got everything working. We're mainly looking to try to make sure that if you're here at A and you want to get to B, say you're in Murfreesboro, you want to get to Nashville, we would like that to be more of a consistent time. Not saying you're going to go any faster. There may be some operational benefits that we see out of it. We certainly hope there are. But the main goal of it is to make sure that your trip is reliable. That way, when you're getting up and brushing your teeth in the morning and getting ready to haul the kids off to school, it's going to, if it takes you 45 minutes, Lord, I hope it takes you 45 minutes every day. That's the idea behind it. So I want to get into the short-term deployments. You'll see a slide later that will discuss when this is coming out. This has actually already been designed, and it is actually in the October letting for TDOT. These deployments that you see up there on the screen, these are mainly things that we felt were what we call low-hanging fruit. We knew that they would either provide us a little bit of an operational benefit in the beginning, kind of going into that reliability, such things to maybe get a wrecked vehicle off the road a little bit quicker, give them a place to actually be so they're not impacting the adjacent traffic, or laying the groundwork for what we call an integrated corridor management, and that's just a fun way of saying that 4 cities in TDOT are going to be connected through a big fiber network, and that goes into fiber installation, also basically providing well, the cities, I guess, your intersections with more upgraded signal equipment, and also looking into the future when we get into connected vehicles, which is what the dedicated short-range communication is. That basically will allow, I know that everybody talks about CVAV, which is connected vehicles or autonomous vehicles. We're dealing with connected vehicles. If your vehicle is equipped with an onboard unit, which a lot of manufacturers are going to basically be requiring here in the near future, what will happen is that receiver that we're going to be placing in this phase will be able to pump out either a safety message, signal timing information, or just give you an idea of, hey, you've got a lane closed up here, you may want to think about something different. It'll be able to give some wayfinding information as well. The other thing that we'll be looking at is improving the current procedures and process. Emergency response. You always hear emergency responders will tell you about the golden hour. things like that, things that we can get a wreck off quicker. That's the type of stuff we're going to be looking at in that. Okay, as I said before, letting's coming up fairly quickly. The project actually started out really quickly. We started design in January of this year. We were able to get plans completed for this first phase. That being said, we wanted to be certain about what we were putting out there. We know that it's going to do a little bit of good. We know that this is just the first bite in the apple. So that's a way to look at it. But some of the things we're looking at doing, we did look at several ramps along, mainly in the northern section of the project, to extend, to give you a little bit more of an acceleration or deceleration length. That would get, cars that are kind of stuck in that lane, half between, go ahead and get them in the lane to allow traffic to move forward and proceed through without being inhibited. The emergency pull-offs. Anybody that's gone down I-65 kind of near 840, you'll see the emergency pull-off areas, and all it is just a widened piece of shoulder. It's an additional 12 feet. What it's meant for is if you have a disabled vehicle that's on the side of the road. I don't know about y'all, but when I've got somebody directly on the shoulder and I'm traveling by on the interstate, I tend to kind of cringe a little bit and gently let off the gas, maybe even tap the brake. Well, that action right there would actually send a little shock wave all the way back. It impacts everybody. We've all felt it. We've all been, what the heck is going on? Have that type of moment. What that's meant to do is take that vehicle, move it off. We placed them in areas that had high incident rates, whether it be crashes or broken down vehicles, to give them a place that car can be placed until a tow truck can come in and get it off the roadway, or just to get it out of the way so that people could actually just keep going. No rubbernecking, just keep moving. That's what we wanted. The fiber network. In some areas where we needed to make where we could actually go ahead and get some fiber in, we looked to do it there. That was mainly, I know Smyrna had a piece. For Laverne, specific to Waldron Road, you guys already had a fiber line that was already laid in. We just kind of continued that up a little bit and actually got it to where we could look to connect you guys in once we started getting a few other deployments online. I believe y'all went almost all the way to the interstate. We're proposing more fiber in that will bring you up and then bring you up to the interstate to one of TDOT's existing hubs for future connection. DSRC, we've covered that briefly. And then traffic signal system, oh goodness, I couldn't pronounce that. The signal system upgrade. Some of the stuff you won't see, like putting in brand new controllers in all of your cabinets. Looking to take out the older equipment that you have and putting it in with equipment that's going to be consistent throughout the entire project. That'll be great for maintenance, as everybody within the project area will have the same stuff, but it's also going to have a lot more capabilities and allow us to do other things and have other potential tools at our disposal, such as maybe looking at adaptive control, things of that nature. The other thing specific to Waldron Road is there's a little bit of, we noticed when we were looking through the speed, we did a speed profile, we noticed there's a little dip along State Route 1 in speeds right around that area in Waldron Road. So we wanted to look at that, see if that timing needed to be cleaned up a little bit. While that may be and that'll just be in the short term, we may get some other timings in place that would kind of, I don't want to say overrule that, but replace that. But in the meantime, that would provide some temporary support and relief. Next one. What we've got coming on, we mentioned the coordination. That again goes into timings. The towing response time, this is specific to I-24. If you guys, I don't know if you travel it on a daily basis, a lot of incidents, a lot of wrecks. Every day it seems like it's something new. It's almost like spinning the wheel of fortune there to see what comes up that day. It would be nice to try to get the response times down a little bit, come up with a better process to get those vehicles up and out of the roadway so that the rest of the traveling public can continue to move forward, and that one problem doesn't create either secondary crashes or just try to reduce some of the congestion and delay that were experienced by that crash. Again, improved emergency response, that's dealing with processes and means. And then the other thing also in the processes would be looking at coordinated traffic management center procedures. What's going to happen is you've got 5 entities, Laverne, Smyrna, Nashville, Murfreesboro, and TDOT, that are going to start to be coming together. So now we're trying to bring everybody to the table. What type of procedures are we going to put in? How are we going to enact stuff? Because you're going to go from just focusing on your city to looking at the health of a corridor as far as being able to get people to move from A to B. There may be some different decisions that would need to be made to basically be, good for the corridor, even though it may not be something that you as a city would normally take into account. For future deployments, the intermediate term, like I said, this is broken into 3 phases. The first is the short term, which we have already gone through. We're ending that, and now we're getting into the intermediate term. These are potential. We are going to go through a little bit more rigorous vetting of this from an operational analysis and benefit standpoint to make sure that what we're going to do out there will bear fruit. So these are what we're looking at fiber network, the ramp metering. That seems to be a little bit of that'll be a new concept, but you do actually see that even in the southeast. I know Atlanta has adopted that quite widely if you've ever been down 75. That's something that we'll be looking to make sure that we're correct about. We want to make sure that if we put it in a place that we're not going to have a line of cars waiting to get on the interstate backing into Waldron Road so that, you know, the arterial is just beaten to no end because we wanted a ramp meter. That's something that will need to be definitely looked at and vetted properly before we propose doing that. The overhead dynamic message sign, and it says per lane. If you've ever been on an interstate, there'll be a giant overhead, basically sign structure, and then for each lane you would have essentially a dynamic message sign. It can provide what the lane speeds are, warn you of maybe a lane blockage in that specific lane 1 mile ahead. It's going to be an attempt to give you better information so that you can actually make smarter decisions out there in as timely a manner as possible. Again, the sooner you can make a correct decision, if everybody does it, things should flow a little bit better. If everybody understands that, hey, this is really the going rate, the chances of having a guy jamming on the gas to try to get, 3 feet further up, that's going to be less. It'll create less of a ripple, less turbulence. If everybody's kind of flowing at the same speed, maybe we'll go a little bit cleaner. We'll have a little bit more of a reliable network. The final thing I'll point to is the arterial dynamic message signs. Again, same thing as the overhead. We're looking to provide more information. These would mainly be concerned with that there's a severe accident on I-24, use State Route 1 as the alternate. To give you an idea that, hey, before you get on I-20, before you hit the decision point to get on 24, you've been alerted that there's something severely bad happening on that, and you can actually maybe seek an alternate route that would get you there a little bit quicker than sitting through a 3-hour log jam. For the long term, we will look at hard shoulder running. That's just a fancy way of saying we can look at seeing what would happen if we turn the shoulder into a general purpose lane. There will be things that have to be considered. The shoulders are typically used for your emergency vehicles to get them up to that. So you will really have to weigh in, will this really benefit it? And this is going to hinder this. So you got to kind of weigh the good and the bad with that type of thing. So definitely want to take a little harder look at it. That's why it's a little bit further out. And then the other things are mainly dealing with finalizing the ICM, making sure that we've got good center-to-center communications, meaning that all of our TMCs, the TDOT TMC with the cities can communicate. We're actually able to employ dynamic speeds, looking at, that goes with the gantries, things of that nature. And we also might consider looking at maybe a dynamic lane control within the ramp junctions, meaning if we need to extend the ramp, we may have to look at a way that we can actually utilize the shoulder for that purpose instead of hard shoulder running. So it'll take, it's weighing the options and figuring out what's best for this corridor, not only right now, but also projecting it into the future so that we're not doing something that worked now, only it's a Band-Aid that's about to come off as soon as we put it on. And with that, I'd be happy to take any of y'all's questions, and I really do appreciate your time.
Anybody have any questions?
I do. Matt, how do y'all propose as far as with the emergency pull-offs?
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all seen any difficulty with like tractor trailers overnighting there?
Well, and that's actually a good point. What's going to happen in this next round, I guess this is the one thing. Right now, the first phase is just going to put the asphalt in there. And then the next one that we're going to be doing will actually put detection devices on there so that anytime a vehicle would actually enter in that, it will actually place a call to the TMC to let them know that one of their pull-offs have been occupied. They have cameras up there, and those things can actually be utilized to shoot down and see what's there. And you would also be able to see for the length of time that it's there. They would be able to know it and be able to take appropriate action. So, yes, there may be a tractor trailer that says it's a great place to bed down for the night, but eventually TDOT would be able to see that to clear that up so it could be used for its intended purpose.
Okay. Thank you for y'all's hard work. I take 24 every day to get to downtown Nashville, so many of our residents go down that interstate, so thank you for the hard work.
I definitely appreciate it, and your staff has been very good about being there at all the TAC meetings. Anytime I've ever asked anything of them, they've actually gotten it to me very quickly and always with a smile on their face. So y'all do good work down here, and I appreciate y'all's cooperation with us.
Any further questions? Thank you very much for coming. Thank you. That puts us down to old business. First reading ordinance 2018-21, an ordinance to amend Title 7, Chapter 6 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding fireworks. Any discussion on the fireworks? Evan, can you kind of keep us up to date on the fireworks? I know we've had it, and this is old business on the fireworks.
Yeah, Mayor, I'm sorry, I don't know if I have any update on the fireworks.
Okay.
Mayor, there's not anything that's really changed on this from the last time y'all looked at it. You know, the first piece, it's real minor change. It takes the TH off the 20th and then the ND off the second, very minimal. And then, of course, the times did change. That's the main change in this first part.
Okay. Any questions on number 4? Number 5, second reading ordinance 2018-23, an ordinance to amend Title 20, Chapter 2 of the Laverne Municipal Code by adding a new section 20-209 entitled Park Activities Near Right-of-Ways, Access Road, and etc. Any question on ordinance 2018-23?
Evan, can you walk us through the changes that have happened in this? I know this is probably the 3rd or 4th version.
Sure. After the comments from the last meeting, we worked to try to address the concerns that were raised. And Alderman Cole, as you mentioned, there have been a couple of different drafts trying to get the language in a way that would try to accomplish the purpose behind the ordinance without creating any conflict or issue that might occur. So what you see underlined there in red is the latest iteration of this, and the intent, as I understand it, is to make sure that it's clear, as you'll note the last section there where it's underlined, that the ordinance is not intended to apply to any footpath or trail that's on city park or park property, or traffic from city employees and vehicles during the course of their duties. So to the extent there are other issues that need to be addressed in there, I'm certain Bruce is happy to look at adding that additional language.
So this would still affect like the Woodfin Community Give Back Day that's back here, where they set up next to the road, next to the access way back here by the gazebo.
Well, I mean, it's going to affect anything that takes place on city property, so it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to be in anything that takes place.
Okay. And who would be enforcing this? Would it be the police? Would it be Parks and Rec?
Well, yeah, I mean, to the same extent police enforce city ordinances, they would also enforce this also. And anybody else that would have jurisdiction to enforce it
Okay.
could also enforce it.
So-
I would think it would be primarily the police.
Okay. So and this would still apply to people wanting to stand, on the park side whenever there's a parade going through, like we have Old Timers Parade, where we have people standing there at the entrance and along that road, the entrance road. Not the walk path, but the actual entrance road. It would still affect them.
I mean, in terms of specifically how it's going to affect different scenarios, I probably can't comment just off the cuff about that. I would need to physically look and understand exactly what's explained. But, so, I mean, I don't know if I can answer your question with respect to every different scenario that could come up.
Okay.
It would be up to the law enforcement officer, whoever's going to enforce it, to decide whether or not there's a violation and then enforce the ordinance.
And I think that's one thing Bruce has asked for, is if you do have any specific scenarios like what you're talking about right now that need to be addressed, just let him know, because that's kind of why he's added these changes in here now, is to try to make this as clear as possible with any, there's always going to be something that can come up, but, any of the circumstances that you can think of, let him know, and we'll see if some of this language needs to be revised to make sure it's very clear, what the intent of the ordinance is.
I'm just wanting to make sure our residents aren't punished with this, with our parades and
Right.
different activities that we've got.
Right, so like I say, I would just suggest that just get with Bruce on some specific language and specific things that you want to make sure that it doesn't, like, you know, a parade. If you think some more language needs to be added for a parade, let Bruce know, and then, of course, he can add it in, and me, Bruce, and Evan will all look at it and see if we can revise this to make it even more clear.
Okay.
Any further questions? Push it down to consent agenda. A, motion to approve or reject city bids, purchases. Number one, NIPA contract pricing, mobile video system, and laptop computers for 3 new patrol cars. Chief?
That's coming off the open wide contract. The contract prices for those 3 new patrol vehicles that have been ordered that should be here sometime probably mid to late October. And that's the purchase of those video systems. We've purchased from that contract just about since we started using those devices back in 2013.
Number two, state contract price and radio equipment and installation service for the city to move to the Tennessee Advanced Communication Network.
And I'm going to come to the
TDOT.
podium and ask someone to join me. I've asked Kenny Jones to come join me in case there are any technical questions, but as you know, we talked about moving to tacking. In the long run, it will save us money on what we've been paying Metro. It's going to cost us, once we get it up and going, it's going to cost us $200 per year per radio, rather than about twice what we're paying now. I mean, what we will be paying. It'll be about half of what we're paying now, Metro. But this will be, our system will be on the statewide network with interoperability across the state. Anytime we need to, we will be able to have our radios programmed. If we have another event like we had last October in Murfreesboro, where we were on an island as far as communications was concerned, we had one radio that was assigned to Lieutenant Call with our SWAT group that allowed us to talk to Middle Tennessee State Police. We couldn't talk to anybody else over there at the time because of the communications that was set up there. But with TACking, we will be able to do that with the interoperable channels. We will have our own bank just like we do now. We will have microwave. When it's set up, it will be set up so that the primary will be at Station 3 at our backup dispatch station now. And that will be our primary. It will be microwave to Cane Ridge. We don't have the ability to put a tower here at the PD tall enough because of the airport. But there is a tower there at Station 3 that is tall enough. And the only thing we have to do is try to figure out and work out if it's that cell tower or we're going to have to use another tower there by the building. But it will allow us to microwave back, and we'll also come back with fiber into the police department. So everything will be connected together between the two so that we have the backup. There will be redundancy available there so that if something happens to the microwave, it'll automatically switch because we'll connect here through fiber back down to the state network, ESI net, I guess is what it's called now. And it will connect back down to the main brain that the state of Tennessee uses. This is the system that after I retired, I went back down to Legislative Plaza and testified 2 or 3 times about why we needed it and why we needed to go this route statewide, initially with THP, and then it moved out to other state agencies, and it was built robust enough so that local agencies can connect to. And I'm going to look at one person in particular. Instead of troopers not being able to talk to local agencies way back when, now they can, because if they're on tacking, they have that interoperability all across the state, which includes us. We work with THP many times on a lot of crashes. We know that. Hopefully, we'll have some connectivity when we start, and they've left already, but when they get started with a smart traffic plan that we've got coming, there'll be some connectivity with that too, so that we can have better communications. The contract is a part of, the whole proposal is a part of, it's fairly lengthy. I think it's what, Kenny, about 40 some odd pages, something like that. But back toward the very back of it, if you look at the pricing part of it, is section 5, and it's 5.5-5 at the very lower right-hand corner. If you remember when we first talked about it, the first stab they had at it, we told them to try to give us a price on the high side, and they did, but when they got in, there was an issue of us having to have the microwave, and that's where the majority of the additional dollars came from. You budgeted $1,042,000 for this project during the budgeting process, et cetera, because of the information we had then. We have some radios we're going to be able to keep and use, but they're going to have to be flashed. They're going to have to be reprogrammed totally, because they're little miniature electronic computer type devices that can be programmed. But that's an expenditure. And the difference in the cost is $118,500 more than what we were given initially for this. There may be some other cost associated with facility issues, but nothing with the communications. Communications should be good to go. I asked Phyllis 2 weeks ago, I think it was, about our special account funds that we have that you all are aware of. One of those is police impact. I don't want to have to fool with it unless we have to do something with facility in some form or fashion within, with additional box and electrical wiring coming in, something of that nature. But as far as this portion of it is concerned, that $118,500 can be taken out of our federal asset forfeiture fund that we have with our task force officer at DEA. And in that account, as of September 18th, it was $288,995. Now, that's very restricted by the feds. They cause us all kinds of hate and discontent and grief sometimes, all of us. Phyllis shaking her head now. I'll tell you too, we will have to get permission from them, tell them what we're going to use it for. This is one of the things that we can use it for, is to purchase equipment. We're not purchasing a service, we're purchasing building out this system. So that's equipment and those related costs. So that would be a justifiable expense. All we have to do is request officially from them, give them the information we have, and justify it, and there should be no problem with getting it approved, with the exception of the fact we're dealing with the feds, and they don't get in a hurry for anything. And then the other account, if we had to, we've got as of that date, we had $196,233 in police impact fund. Of course, it's restricted too from the way it's utilized here, but the money's there. Kenny can explain to you a little bit better, possibly a little more simply, if you have any questions about the system and how it's going to work.
Anybody have, Kenny, any questions?
I do. If, let's say that it comes to a time that we rebuild the City Hall campus or move it to another location, is this something that can be moved? I know fiber optics, normally you don't want to move those.
I'll answer that. Yes, it can be moved. We do have fiber connectivity here. We're going to be able to microwave from Station 3. We're not going to have to use fiber there as such, because it'll be air. The lines that are coming to us through what, T1, I think it is, coming out. And that's not the ideal thing, but it will handle what we have because our traffic's not so much that it would overwhelm that T1 line, which is a priority. Fairly high data line. And we should be okay with that without any problem of having to go dig and so on and so forth. Hopefully we can come up with some additional connectivity with this other thing with some fiber maybe too, because it's right out in front of us out here too. So that's a possibility down the road. We can move it. It will cost us to move it if we do that, but that would have to be built in that whole package. As far as totally rebuilding it, no. We would have to make sure we had everything inside for all of the protection, et cetera. We have to drill, put an anchor and a large copper wire coming off, just like you do with any server group that's out there in the room in the back or over there at Station 3. But other than those kinds of things, noise suppression things that protects it and so on and so forth, those are the only things we would have to do. You agree?
I agree.
What's the range on the microwave signals from?
So a lot of that is based upon how high you are and what frequency you're using, so it's really hard to kind of narrow down exactly, you know, if I'm in the 6 gigahertz, I'm 100 feet up, I might go one range. If I'm in 9 and I'm 300 foot up, it's going to go further. So there's a lot of engineering that goes into that, probably more than I can answer.
Do you have a general idea how much we can normally expect? I mean, Laverne is 25 square miles, so I want to make sure that our officers are able to connect with
the microwave is actually going to pick up what we have the signal here and at that facility. The microwave is actually going to be shooting back and forth to Cane Ridge. There is a major site at Cane Ridge for TACN, which is a major brain site, which we will be connected to. We will also be able to connect down the road with the Smyrna Hill site, and in addition to that, Middle Tennessee Electric is looking at putting and adding 7 sites in the county to TACN. So all of this will be one huge system of land mobile radio sites, so to speak, towers, et cetera, with brains in them that are all going to be talking to each other or through each other. So we won't be microwaving to patrol cars. Patrol cars will actually go to the site and it'll go from there, then microwave to Cane Ridge. If that goes down, the fail-safe is, then it goes copper line, go T1, which is not the most ideal, but that's the best we can do at this time. We can't really, unless we put a site possibly at the old water tank there on Mason, or we go to McFarland Point to the water tank. That's probably the high site we have in the city. And we know that that works very well with Moto Turbo Communications, which is what, UHF?
Yeah.
That NASCOM put a site there to test with, and it talked all over Middle Tennessee. That's the highest point we have. So eventually we may be able to put something there, or eventually if we move this, then we may have a shot somehow from here to go both to Cane Ridge and then to that site at Smyrna. But it's a mesh that's awesome because you'll have redundancy. If it goes down from one tower site, all you got to do is switch it over and tell it it's going to be pointing to this other side over here and communicating with it. And if something happens to that tower, and this tower's still okay, if a tornado comes through, you still got communications.
If you lose the microwave, you don't lose communications. There's multiple step downs. If you lose microwave, you go into what they call fail-soft, and that just means dispatchers go to radios on the desk instead of on the computer screen. That's the only thing that happens.
Okay. And electronically, it happens automatically, or it's something they have
There
to
is
trigger?
zero downtime.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we build multiple steps, not just one, because what these guys do, right, lives are at stake.
It's a smart system. It's not like the old land mobile where if something goes down, you key up and it doesn't talk. If it keys up and talks, it's going somewhere and it's still going to be working somewhere. I had a thought a minute ago, a very clear thought, and I lost it. I apologize to give you something that was a much better idea of how it functions and how it works.
You said something else I want to ask about. You said that the Smyrna area and the, a lot of different places in the greater Nashville area are going to this. Do you know the time frame that they're moving to this technology?
Smyrna's already on an 800 system. They are already connecting to TACN. MTSU has been for a long, long time. When we first tested this, back before I left my other job, we did a demonstration of talking from Atlanta, Georgia, to the Tri-Cities, to the THP dispatch center there in Fall Branch, all the way back to Nashville. It was coming through two switches at that time. It was coming from Department of Corrections switch at Wartburg, right? Well, I can't remember the name of that little mountain. It's like not Snow Mountain or Ice Mountain, it's something like that, to Middle Tennessee State University, and then on into Nashville where we were. And communications was very clear, and that's when we started dedicating some Homeland Security grant funds. And it was a result of a very large project where we spent quite a bit of money with some contractors who came and looked. We wanted a big, huge, robust system that we were going to call TNWIN, Tennessee Wireless Interoperable Network. We were going to build it out so that THP would have communications statewide plus data. And we were going to allow local agencies like Laverne, for example, or my hometown, Dunlap, or Nolensville, to be able to connect and have not only the data side, but the voice side too. And that was going to be about $840 million. But down the road, what we did get done is build out the voice part of it, and it's working very well all across this state. If we have to go help someone for whatever reason, say they asked us to come for help because of some major disaster somewhere, and we sent 5 people to Upper East Tennessee or Southwest, Northwest Tennessee. Once they got there, they'd hook it up to our radio, to our portable or our mobile radio, both. They'd flash it, and then on these channels that we had, we could talk to anybody we needed to there in that operation. That's the awesomeness of it. It's no longer just a standalone within a box radio to talk from. It's a smart box.
Thank you.
You said you had a loss of thought. At my house, they call it a senior moment.
Well, and I'm more senior than you are now, you know. They've already kicked me out of my state retiree Cigna insurance and tell me I have to sign up for Medicare.
One question I got is, how technology changes every 3 years. The breaking technology today in 3 years is obsolete. Is this set up where it can be integrated with upgrades?
This radio won't be obsolete in that amount of time. It'll last a few more years. We have some radios we have to replace now. We can't. We have some we can flash and upgrade that will be good for another couple of years, and we'll have to buy some radios, et cetera. But as we buy now, we're buying these we can keep. As far as the brain itself, the network, it's going to be there a few years.
Yeah, so most of what's in the network now is computer switches. There's not a lot of actual RF equipment. So Motorola signed a 10-year contract with the state. We're a year and a half into that. they'll look to sign another 10-year when that's done. Just upgrading switches.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
And I don't know, for this to be voted on and approved to proceed, there'll probably have to be a resolution that would,
A budget amendment?
a budget amendment that would relate, that would use those funds, but we couldn't actually use that additional amount of money until we get the approval from the feds. But we'd have to use the 11,6,500 as the dollar amount instead of the 1,042,000.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
you.
Thank you for your presentation. That puts it down to B, approved contract between the Regional Transportation Authority and the City of Laverne for regional bus service. Who's got this one?
Mayor, this is something we do every year. It's the contract we have with RTA for the bus service, and the amount on here is still the same as it was, I believe, the last several years, ain't it, Phyllis? I know it's the same as last year. It's $30,000, so, but it's for the bus service.
Okay. C, approved change order number 3 for the Lower East Hurricane Creek Intercept Sewer Line. Mr. Hall.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Board. We're under construction for the Lower East Hurricane Creek Interceptor with W&O Construction Company. We've had some delays occasioned by gas line conflicts and some wet weather through August. The contractors requested 67 additional days. We've prepared and executed a contract on our behalf and the contractor's behalf, granting him 67 additional days until November 24th. And we would request that the city accept and execute this contract change order as well.
Any questions for Mr. Hall?
Now, you said 67 days total? You said 67 days total?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Number D, thank you. Approve street for paving. Garland, is that you?
Yes, sir. I was asking to add some additional streets for this year's paving. As you know, we're paving over in the Willowview area, and there's 3 streets there that I'd like to add to this year's budget, and also Howell Quaker Boulevard. I think it's Bell Court, Moss Trail, and Liberty Lane.
Liberty Lane and Moss Trail, that's over there in the Willowview
Yes, sir.
area.
I'd like, while they're there, I'd like to add it. And then we also have the Jones Boulevard that y'all approved at last meeting, which we've got it milled down, and we worked off and on this week through the rain to try to repair all the base failures to get them ready for the binder to go back on, that we're gonna let them run on this winter. And maybe next July, we'll be paving the whole street.
How many streets you want to add? Was it 4 streets?
4 streets for right now.
Yeah. Phil, where's the money gonna come out? We got this
State Street Aid.
street aid. We got money, we got enough money in street aid?
I believe we do. We'll look at that, but I'm pretty sure we have enough
Okay.
for that.
I had sent the quotes into, I think, Kyle and Bruce. I don't know if you have them with you.
Yep, you got the amounts on here.
Okay, yes.
Down to number E, approve grant contract between the State of Tennessee Department of Homeland Security and the City of Laverne for Police Traffic Service Highway Safety Project. I think the chief set out.
I think the chief stepped out, but basically this is a grant we do each year, and I think on one of the pages you'll see the amount. It's $50,000.
Puts you down number F, approve of application for a roadblock to be conducted for the Shriners from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. on Saturday, October the 20th, 2018, with a rain date of Saturday, October the 27th, 2018, at the intersection of Murfreesboro Road and Stones River Road. This is something we typically do every year, so that puts us down to new business. First reading ordinance 2018-24, an ordinance to amend the Laverne zoning ordinance regarding the temporary use of regulations of fireworks tents. This received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on September 25th, 2018. This is what we kind of been waiting on to integrate with that other fireworks thing, right, Kyle?
Yes, Mayor, the basis behind this is, for one, to try to get, we had dates in two sections or two different areas. One was in municipal code and one's in the zoning ordinance. So the other piece that you looked at earlier was the municipal code, and what we're trying to do to the zoning ordinance is basically in this section, take out any dates. That way, kind of it refer you back to the municipal code. That way, there's only one set of dates that will need to be changed if you want to change it in the future, and only one set of dates to look at. Because I think they've been off by about 1 day in the past, and I think it's what it currently is. The other thing this does is closer to the bottom, you'll see $500 highlighted. That is going to be the new proposed permit for this. When we was looking at this and the dates and stuff, one of the things we did notice was that currently we charge $250, which is still pretty low. I think I want to say Smyrna was $750, isn't it, Randolph? I think it's $750, and then some others are $500, and there's different varying ones, but we feel like $500 is definitely more appropriate for what the permit should be. So that's the major two changes that we have.
Okay. Any questions? Puts down number 8, first reading ordinance 2018-25, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2017-2018 general fund budgets. And this is to do with streets.
Yes, Mayor, during the process of closing our books for the year, we realized that the streets had went over their budget by $17,000 for repair and maintenance. This is to do the amendment for 17-18 per, our requirements to close out the year.
Puts you down number 9, first reading ordinance 2018-26. It's an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2018-2019 general fund budget. This is for fire and police.
Correct. This is for the purchase of vehicles that actually had been purchased in 17-18, but they didn't come in until 18-19. So this will take care of covering the cost of those. And then the fire is, of course, the fire engine that we purchased recently. That was, I think, on Gov Deals.
Okay. Push down number 10, a resolution 2018-24, a resolution of the City of Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen to declare property owned by the city to be surplus to the city needs and direct disposal of the same. What are we selling?
Mayor, this is just a couple of vehicles that the police department have seized, and then there's, I think it's about 6 vehicles that Public Works, it's some of the older vehicles that need to get rid of. So it's mainly all vehicles.
Right. Push it down number 11. This is a resolution 2018-25, a resolution to support ending the vehicle emission testing in Rutherford County. Melissa, is that yours?
Yes. This is just a resolution to support getting rid of the vehicle emissions. They have not been beneficial to our residents. They're kind of a tax on the poor because if you have a check engine soon light and you go through there, you can't get your tags until you get that resolved. Some of those mechanical repairs are very expensive. And in this case, it's not really a net benefit to the city or the citizens of the city or the county. So this is just a resolution for us to support. It's up in the state house right now, so for us to support the motion on that bill.
Puts it down to number 12. This is a resolution to name the Laverne Senior Center in honor of Sherry Green. I put this one on here. I was over there Wednesday, and they reopened the senior center after the water damage, and it had a packed crowd. Everybody enjoyed it, and appreciate everybody doing it. But I thought Sherry's, for as long as I can remember, Sherry's been with the Laverne Senior Citizen Center, and think it would be good and appropriate to name, to put her name on it officially is the Sherry Green Laverne Senior Citizen Center. So that's number 12. That puts it down to number 13. Number 13 is a motion to approve a contract with Metro Nashville regarding the possible acquisition of easements for the Metro Hurricane Creek Improvement Project. This is something Metro, if they have to require property, they're not, being Davidson County, they ain't got no legal authority to like, what's the name I'm trying to think of? Not require property. They'd have to do it through us. We'd basically do it on their behalf. They would do the paying and the legal fees. We would just be the middleman, right, Evan?
Mayor, I think that's a good way to describe it. Everyone's familiar with the fact that Metro takes our sewage, and they're involved in a project that's going to cross over the county line in some instances. And they have approached us about taking on the responsibility that if they need to actually condemn property in order to be able to make that improvement, they have asked if the city would be willing to take on that responsibility, that Metro would pay us and pay the expense of doing it. To be actually technically correct, I'm not sure that Metro would be prohibited from doing it, but I think Metro would prefer doing it this way if the city of Laverne is willing to cooperate with them on doing it. It's completely up to this board whether or not. But we've worked, as Bruce mentioned in his memo, we've worked for months now to get this contract ironed out. It looks dramatically different than the way it looked before. I think it's fair to the city. It has all the costs being paid by Nashville. So we would end up, and the other thing to keep in mind is they may not ever need us to do that. They may be able to go out and acquire these easements without having to sue, but in the event they had to, it would come to us, we would file suit, we would condemn the property, we would become the legal owners of that property, and then we would turn around and then sign a deed over to Metro for that property, and that's the way it would work.
Ultimate domain, that's what I was
Yes,
trying to
sir.
think of.
Yes, sir.
Good deal. Number 14, motion to appoint or remove board members. A, Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, there's 2 terms that are vacant. That's Gwendolyn Davis and Doug Schaefer. Doug Schaefer, he is the county commissioner, and I think the seniors, I think, require at least a county commissioner or the county mayor to sit on that board. So we'll have to get with the county and see who they want to sit on that board, and then Ms. Davis, we can post it and get some application for it. And B is the Park and Rec Advisory Committee. 2 terms is vacated with Candace Bounds and Michael Dial, and we removed both of them, I think, last month. So we do have some applicants for it. One is Eric Boyd, by Anna King and Kathy Tyson. So we got 3 people that wants on that board. So look them over and see what the 2 out of the 3, or we might have some more by Tuesday. But right now, that's the 3 that we got that's put their names in for the Park and Rec Advisory Committee. That being said, that puts us down to Mayor and Alderman comments. Alderman Cole.
I'll pass.
Alderman Jones.
I'd just like to say, first of all, it's become apparent for those of you who read social media that for whatever reason my name popped up in it again this week, and due to an incident where I was parked outside of Walmart in a legal parking spot, and for whatever reason my integrity about my service in the military, my position, my issuance of a handicap sticker, and I just wanted, at any other time, it's most of you who know me know that I don't even comment on the stuff that I see on Facebook because it's not worthy of comment. but I just wanted to let this be known. You know, a lot of times when that stuff goes in there, it's not just amongst each of the individuals that you're sending it to. It goes out to everyone. At this time, as small as Laverne is, there are people that knows about the, for lack of a better word, just the ignorance that goes on when we start talking about each other and down in our own city. If I've got a corporation or if I've got a company and I read, and that's what they do. Companies are reading these things when they hire people. They're reading these things when they choose sites that they want to come to. And they're looking at this. Who wants to come to something if you're talking about each other? What are you going to do when I come in? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And we need to really just grow up. I really wish people would just grow up. And as far as the individual that was saying all I needed to do was post a picture of my placard or whatever, you know, I wouldn't even entertain that thought. I wouldn't entertain that thought, because if you're waiting for me to tell you what my disability is, you're not going to know. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. If you wait for me to tell you anything about my personal life, I'm up here as a public servant. Anything that comes to this city that I do, I'll be more than happy to discuss it with you. But my private life is just that. It's my private life. If I decide to bring you into my circle and we discuss something, it's because I brought you in. You're not going to bully me into telling you a thing about myself. You can still just speculate, and you can do that all day. But also at the same time, let's start acting our age a little bit better. Let's just start acting our age. We're not doing the city any good. We're not doing it any good sitting up here doing all that kind of bickering and the stuff that we do. So I really wish people would think about that before they, you know, have your fun, but just think about it. Think about what you're doing. You know, a lot of things are turned away from this city. We don't know what the final choice to make them not bring their companies here or not do certain business with us. But if I go in and I read the kind of stuff and it's getting tacky, for lack of words, it's getting really tacky. But if that's something that y'all want to print, and I'm not speaking to any one individual, if that's something that they feel they need to print it, you know, you really need to think about it. And the last thing I'd like to say in closing is, if you're out there, I can't stop you from, you know, taking your pictures and following me around, but just be warned. You know, if you get to a point where you're out here shooting snapshots with cameras, you know, and you feel that you want to move up to the next level and do something more. I didn't just push papers in the military. I can take care of myself. So think about it. And that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Alderman Brown.
I just want to apologize. I have some allergies going on this month. It's been going on for a while, so if I've sneezed or coughed while you're speaking, I apologize. It's no disrespect. It's just ragweed season. So thank you.
I want to keep the families of the Camp family, the Ivy family, the Wright family, and the Anderson family in our prayers for their loss. I was fortunate to had a great time Wednesday at the Laverne Senior Citizen Center. We had a ribbon cutting for the remodeling and reopening of the scenery. It looks great. So many seniors were super happy because the center was closed for quite a while. It kind of reminded me of the library when it got water damage. They reopened. It looks good. The senior citizen look good. It's a lot of new stuff in there. It smells like a new car. Carpet, everything done. It looks good. And I want to thank the senior staff, the maintenance department, the park employees, and whoever else was involved in it. They done a great job, and they done it in a timely manner. And everybody worked hard to reopen the senior center. Everything looked fresh, new, and clean. Great job, everybody involved. And tomorrow, I think at 3 o'clock, we're swearing in 3 new police officers. Alvin Pike, Brandon Rose, and Juan Lugo. And we're going to have 3 more officers on the road, and I'm proud to see 3 new officers being and hit the road. And that's all I've got, and I call this workshop closed.